Hello everyone, we are back with our final game of Kfractor versus Dementio. Now I believe it is possible that Conrad or potentially even Kfractor can still win this over Dementio despite him having a huge lead in the scores, being at 5-0. It will require Dementio probably going 0-3 versus Kfractor here. But let's get into the game here, and let's see what's going on. Okay, it seems like Secret Paladin versus Aggro Paladin. This is, I would say, slightly in favor of the Aggro Paladin, but I mean of the Secret Paladin. But the draw from the Aggro Paladin here is really strong. Dementio is really gonna have to make sure to kill that juggler this turn, and so potentially he can get very poor jugglers in this. Oh, that was the right attack, because basically what it did was it gave him maximum amount of targets for the juggles to hit rather than hitting the face. If you just run the creeper into the 2-1, what it does is it makes it a 50-50 that each juggle were to hit a minion, rather than a 2 out of 3 chance that each juggle that at least one of the juggles were to hit a minion. So it's better in his odds that he were to attack into the knife juggler. I like this. You get maximizing his hero power value and the juggler potential over just playing a shredder, which at the gut reaction is an obvious play, but this is definitely probably stronger. Yep, you probably Coghammer hero power here. Make sure Coghammer first so it doesn't accidentally hit the hero power. Coghammer is a weapon which Battlecry adds Divine Shield and Taunt to a random minion on your side of the board. So it's important that before you play minions, you try to put it usually on the minion you want to, on one of your minions already in place. You can get instant value of that Divine Shield, or just so you can try to target on a minion that would benefit from the Divine Shield more. Dementio here has the turn 6 challenger, so he's at a pretty strong position, and he even has Dr. Boom. So this seems to be really in favor right now of Dementio. And that was a very technical play by Dementio there, hitting the 1-1 because he figures the owl is going to run into the noble sacrifice, and that way he takes 1 less damage. Now, if Kfractor were actually hit with this weapon, it would have been misplay by Dementio, but he may be trying to remove the challenger here as the Paladin. Yep, and then he's going to coin Divine Favor, draw as many cards as possible, and then I would personally just go for the face. I don't see myself winning any other way. Yeah, just kill the 2-1, hit the face. Just killing the challenger is a losing play. There's a difference between surviving and winning. Killing the challenger is you're just trying to survive, not actually win. But going for the face, it gives you, even though it's a tiny chance, some chance of winning. So the Dementio's Paladin is done, so I believe that leaves him with a Zoolock And I know Kfractor still has a Paladin, a Priest, and a Hunter left. Actually, no, this is very correct. My bad. I was about to say, because you're drawing a 1-drop, it gives you a play for next turn, so coining this out is fine, despite him not having another 2-drop to play. I'd be surprised that he doesn't play the Flame Imp. Dementio doesn't take the Flame Imp. He really needs that additional minion over the Power Overwhelming. And the South Sea Deckhand doesn't do anything, really, since he doesn't play any weapons in a Warlock. Now, I'm wondering if he's going to play the Reliquary Seeker here. Okay, he isn't. I was tempted to play it there. Maybe not in a muster for battle, but just trying to gain board presence against the Secret Paly, I think, is what you need to do. Because you really don't have any board clear. Your board clear as a Zoolock is your minions trading. So if the Secret Paly gets a hit on board like this, it's usually pretty hard to come back. But then again, this actually is an aggro Paladin, but it's still basically the same concept. And now he's just sitting with his Reliquary Keeper in hand, and with no hope of probably even playing it as a 5/5. So I think in that situation, it was correct to play it as a 1/1, despite its low value, just for mana reasons. But King Mukla is an insane card when your opponent doesn't have a board, because they have no immediate way to use the bananas. And it basically, like, your opponent can't play the banana. But bananas when, I mean, they can, but, like, it's bad to play them when they're not immediately gaining you value, because you're just putting mana into something that doesn't affect the current board state. So that's why King Mukla is so good when your opponent doesn't have a board, because you're paying 3 mana for 5/5 with basically no downside to it. This match needs to be a stomp. Dementio has all these incredibly situational cards, and he has to now play these Reliquaries as 1/1s just to stay alive with the Defender of Argus. But Consecrate is going to easily clean this up. And is that? Yeah, that's lethal. So that was a quick game 2. The score is now 1-1. So Hunter, mid-range Hunter, the Webster tells me this is a mid-range Hunter, and versus a more mid-range Druid by Dementio. I'm very surprised. I honestly would have kept the swipe. Okay, but he gets it anyways. I usually like to keep swipe versus Hunters because it's so powerful versus but Dementio has a pretty good hand here. I'm surprised by the not Wild Growth, because next turn he'd be able to Hero Power and Wrath next turn if he needs to. So the no Wild Growth to me is questionable. That Mad Scientist draw is probably the best draw in the mid-range Hunter deck. Mad Scientist is such a powerful card. It pulls a secret out of your own deck. And so not only does this draw and play a card, it makes it so you don't have to actually physically draw and play the card later. it just incredibly powerful, and it thins your deck so you can draw something like Savannah Highmane more often, which is the crux of this mid-range hunter. Now we're probably going to see Druid Claw innervate Wrath here. Or, actually that's no better. So Wrath for 2, get that extra card draw. He's got Ancient War. Pretty good position actually for the Druid here. Probably see you need to kill that Drake and remove that spell power. Spell power swipe is just so threatening. Based on the Hunter's hand, I may have gone with the Elec, the coin Elec there. Just to develop a slightly stronger board. And the playing the Shade here is really good because he gets his freezing trap something smaller. And then like an Ancient of War, which he would, if he were to play that, then he would be forced to just sit on it until he played the smaller minion later to run into the freezing trap, because otherwise it would go back to his hand for 9 mana. Now the King's Elec there is an interesting card. It reveals a minion, Joust, the new Joust mechanic. Reveals a minion in each deck, and then if yours is higher, then you get that card in your hand. And the theory behind this is that if you get Savannah Highmane, it's a high cost card, you're likely to draw it from Elec if it gets Joust. And as I mentioned before earlier, you want Savannah Highmane. It is the core of this deck, is to just curve into Savannah Highmane. Now this is an interesting interaction. The fact that the Treant got freezing trapped means that you can now use it again to proc the other freezing trap. And this is very good value for the Druid. But I potentially think that he should have waited on that until a later turn and denied the bow charge as long as possible, because when you have Eagle Horn Bow, it gains a charge every time a trap is triggered. So if you were to, like, just say play the Ancient of War there and then just sit on it and force him to potentially use the Eagle Horn Bow to move the Ancient of War and then use your Treant later to proc the trap, like, you may have denied a bow charge, basically. But the play he did was fun. The Druid seems a significant advantage, but as we just see the Savannah Highmane being drawn, it looks like he wants to protect his Leok over playing the Highmane, which is fine, especially with that Unleash the Hounds in hand. Unleash and Leok are such a potent combo. Just drawing for 2, developing the Shade, pretty solid plays here. He's got the potential double combo in hand. If you thought single combo was bad, imagine Force of Nature, Savage Roar, Innervate Savage Roar, which is 22 damage from hand. So if you draw the Innervate, this game may just be over. But you may in fact need to use Force of Nature to clear here. As a hunter here, I like doing this, limiting the number of minions on board, developing the Highmane, because the more minions on board, the more powerful combo potentially is. Is that lethal? Yeah, that's lethal. Okay. With the Living Roots. Dementio is now 2-0 over Kfractor. These games just being by so fast, I barely have time to explain the plays. So this leaves Dementio with his final deck, and then it leaves Kfractor with his Priest and his Hunter again. Oh no. Dementio still has his Zoo, my bad. Actually, yeah, this is his final deck. Did he keep that big game hunter? That's an interesting keep. No, but both players seem to have a pretty good start here. Webspitter and the Scientist is the dream start, and Zombie Chow and the Peddler is the dream start. So, but it seems like the Zoo has better follow-ups here. That instant pick Void Caller. It's a protected Zombie Chow. This way he can run his Zombie Chow into the freezing trap potentially. The Hunter here is pretty much forced to play Unleash, which, despite the kind of bad value compared to what it can get later, it does almost clear the board. Again, saving the Reliquary. Especially when you're running 2 like Dementio is, I think it's sometimes okay to just play it as a 1/1. Especially when you need minions on the board, like for CGI. Seems like both players are going to curve out pretty well with the Elec and with the either Panther Quickshot, Elec Quickshot, or Panther Elec. Now, when Joust happens, when it ties, the Joust doesn't actually occur, which is, I think, pretty good. That way, Joust isn't technically favored to happen if both players are to work. If both players are playing a somewhat equal deck. Capology, the top is Kfractor and the bottom is Dementio. As you guys can probably hear, some stuff happened in the background. I have no idea what. But Leok actually hurting him here, giving him a big game hunter target. And this is potentially disastrous. I actually wouldn't have minded to see the Soulfire there to protect the big game hunter. There's a potential for him to get the Roar out as a 5/5 here. Plays other 2. No, he's 1 mana off. That. But I think we're just gonna see the Haunted Creeper and the Imp Gang boss here. Trading the boom that's a safe play to do. He's already in a huge board lead. He doesn't need to take risks and go for the face. He's got this game in an advantage position. Just play safe. Oh, that 3 hit. 1 off. This is looking pretty dire for the Hunter player. He's running out of cards, and and Dementio is just getting more and more. Being able to play that 5/5, put significant pressure on the board. Now is he gonna play the ooze? Okay, no, he's gonna save it for the value. Okay. Dementio, very, very, very value-oriented plays here, rather than tempo-oriented. I'm surprised he's going for the. Okay, no, he's going for the Soulfire. In other players to just go for the implosion, like just trade a few minions, go for the implosion, save the Soulfire for damage to the face next turn. But Dementio has 7, 9. He's 1 off lethal. Oh my god, that could be a disastrous mistake for Dementio. He's 1 off lethal, and he has no way to play any cards. That is lethal for the Hunter player. That small misplay over using the Soulfire to clear the low feb instead of the implosion is going to cost him the game. Small things matter. And Kfractor is back into the series. I'm pretty sure it's 2-2 at this point. Zoo versus Priest. Okay, this is a very draw-oriented matchup for the Priest. Zoo is usually pretty consistent with their game plan, but the Priest has a lot of high-end cards and a lot of low-end cards. So, like, when I mean high curve and low curve, like they have heavy control cards and heavy anti-aggro cards in his deck. So it depends on what side of the deck does he draw, how good this matchup is for the Zoo. And as we can see in the Priest's hand, he's got a pretty good setup to combat this Priest player. I mean, this Zoo player. Using Shadow Word Pain there for tempo reasons, even though it's not the best value, because you're effectively you're intentionally going 1 for 2, because the Dark Peddler drew him a card. Now this implosion, if it hits for 2, is disastrous. That power overwhelming gives him the opportunity to play risk-free, which is really good. I definitely think this is the better play. And develop the 4/4. And this sets up for a very strong Argus next turn. And the Priest here is stuck with a Twilight Vanquisher without another dragon in hand. This is not very good, and Shadow Word Pain really isn't an option because you're just giving more power on the board. You may just have to play the Twilight Vanquisher as a 2/6 without taunt here. But this is actually, and no dragon in hand, he can't even use his Blackwing Corruptor next turn to finish off the Nerubian here. But Holy Nova actually saves him. I was surprised he didn't go for the Argus. I definitely like this over playing the Argus. Put better Argus targets on the board and then get more value out of it later even though it is more mana efficient to play the Argus. Shadow Word Pain, such a potent answer versus Imp King boss, because it doesn't deal damage to Imp King boss when no imps get spawned. This is looking very dire though for the Zoo player. But he's getting some gas with Lothab in hand. But that zombie chow, healing the priest later on can be pretty disastrous. I'm surprised he didn't save the Blackwing Corruptor and go for Vol'jin Smite. At least get value out of the Vol'jin there. I guess he wants to try to save Vol'jin for something bigger. Because he hasn't seen a Sea Giant yet. Argus with the Ooze. The Ooze copies itself, and so basically any effect you play on it on the turn it's summoned gets doubled. It's such a good combination. Magus, such a good draw there. It doesn't exactly immediately affect the board, but it's a huge body that you can use to trade. But the Zoo seems to be pulling it back here. Just drawing a lot of gas with the Sea Giant, the Lothab, the Reliquary. 1 mana 5/5 is pretty darn good. I am surprised he is going for this line of play. I would have just gone for the face as the Zoolock. You've got Lothab in hand. If he doesn't have Light Bomb, you probably could have shut out the game next turn. But we'll see how this works out. I honestly really like to see the Lothab play and just go for the face of the Sea Giant. I really disagree with trading here. He needs to start pushing damage. He's running out of these high impact cards in his deck. This here, and the Priest has plenty more to go. Like double Azure Drake, so good. Like, and you can't keep trading into this, and it's just gonna get worse and worse as the game goes on. This is another mistake that Dementio is making. Dr. Boom, probably the best draw in his deck. And that Twilight Web was a very good draw. It gives him a Valen's Chosen target this turn, and allows him the Shadow Word Death. I fear that he would have to potentially just play Ysera and take a ton of damage. But the Priest is actually looking in a dire position. Just keep drawing these heavy gas cards, like Reliquary of Souls, Lothab, Sea Giant, Dr. Boom, back to back to back. He isn't. Dementio really hasn't drawn dead yet. He hasn't really drawn any low impact cards, and this may be the beginning of the end for Kfractor. I think if Paul wins, yeah, I'm pretty sure if Paul wins this series, he wins the tournament. So this is basically the finals. And that is lethal. Exactly lethal. Congratulations to Dementio. In a minute, we will pull him on stream for an interview. So stay tuned, guys. Thanks for watching.